Hi folks, and welcome back to another video. My name is Shah and this is Thoroughly Enjoyed Books. Today we're going to be doing my February TBR where I'm going to talk to you about all the books that I plan on reading in the month of February. This video is going up a little bit later in February just because of obviously me being unwell. Everything's just fallen a little bit behind. But I have got a stack of books here that I'm going to be reading throughout the month of February that I want to tell you about. Now, February is always the shortest month, but we have got an additional day this year because it's a leap year. That doesn't mean I am suddenly able to read a lot more books, but for some reason I've got a big stash here. I tried to keep to my 5-book TBR that I did last month because I thought that would be a nice way to do things, but I have got 7 that I want to talk to you about. So I'm just going to talk to you about them because why ever not? I again have got just cats everywhere, all around me, because that's my life. That just happens to be my life. So here are the 7 books that I'm going to talk about today that I'm going to be hopefully reading in February. I'm going to start off with one that I've already talked about a few times on this channel, so I'm not going to repeat myself and waffle on, but you all know that I'm currently reading the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. I've wanted to read this for a really long time. It is a book that I've put on my list of priorities because I want to read some of the chunkier books on my TBR this year because they just get neglected. This is an exploration of religion, Islam and India and Indian culture. Very, very popular book, very well known, very infamous, very controversial, and almost got Salman Rushdie killed. So it's one that I've wanted to get to for a long time, one I really wanted to prioritise, and will definitely get finished in February. And the next book I am going to talk about is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a dark academia fantasy novel, and it is about Robin Swift, who is Cantonese, was born in Canton, and has been kind of adopted by this Professor Lovell, who works in translation at the University of Oxford. He takes Robin back to England, trains him up to go and study languages in Oxford, and it is about colonialism and the British Empire. And it also looks at language, obviously, and the power of language. I'm doing this as a buddy read with my friends Charlotte from Connie Reads, Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots, and Shannon from 155 Books, all of whom I will leave links to down below. We only have to read a chapter of this every day in February. Hopefully we will get through this together. It's another big chunky book. It's another book that was on my list of priorities of big books to read this year. So if when I get through this and Satanic Verses, I'm doing pretty well. I mentioned in my last TBR for January that I wanted to be reading more non-fiction, and the non-fiction book that I picked for January I didn't get around to, mostly because I was quite unwell, so I just didn't have the brain power for it. So I've brought it back, but I know this isn't going to be one that I read cover to cover. It is one that I'm going to be dipping out of because it's quite academic. And once again, that is Unwell Women by Ella McCleghorn. This is a journey through medicine and myth in a man-made world, and it is all about women's medicine and women's illnesses and the treatment of women and their ailments throughout history. So, like I said, quite academic, quite heavy. It's not one that I'm going to sit and read cover to cover. I'll just be dipping in and reading a chapter here and there. I didn't get to it at all in January. I've also picked out The Right to Sex by Amelia Srinivasan. This is a book that I bought a couple of years ago now. I bought it when I was with Amelia from Amelia Books, who I will also live down below. It was on sale, and it's about women's rights to sex and how sex has become more liberal over time. It's not something that is strictly, linked to marriage. It's become a more free thing. Again, really interested in sex and relationships. I do a lot of that in my job, and I'm just really interested in sexual liberation. There's actually another book about sex coming out in a few months I'm really excited about, but I won't mention that here because that's off topic, but this is one that I am really excited to get to. I want to read a few lighter books as well in February. I don't want it all to be really heavy reads, so I've picked out 3 books that I think are just going to be nice, fun reads compared to the 4 that I've just talked to you about. Of course, February is Love Month, there is Valentine's Day. I am not the biggest Valentine's fan. I haven't had a Valentine for 4 years, which is probably why I'm not the biggest fan. But I just don't really vibe with it as a celebration, as a holiday anyway. But I want to read some romance, so I've picked up The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary because, again, I've had this a really long time. I picked this book up like the day before lockdown hit the UK in 2020, so it's been sat on my shelves for 4 years, so I don't know why I haven't got to it. I've heard amazing things. Beth O'Leary has loads of books that I'm interested in, but I need to read this one first. This is about some people who rent a flat together and there's only one bed and they have to share it, but because they're on different shifts, it's not a big deal. They don't meet, but they send each other notes, I think, and I think at some point they fall in love. I'm very intrigued by the premise of this. I know there's a TV show or a film as well that I would love to get to. For some reason as well, I'm just in a really fantasy mood. I think it's because I'm reading Babel, and obviously because I'm filming this partway through the month, I've started my buddy read of Babel. I'm just getting more interested in books that I used to read, which had a more fantasy adventure element. So I'm very drawn to Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller, another book that was sent to me a few years ago. This was a gift from the beautiful Shannon from 155 Books, who I've already mentioned in this video because she gets mentioned all the time on my channel, because honestly, I think she is my soulmate. She is my best friend and I love her to pieces. This is a book about the daughter of the Pirate King, and I love pirates. That is probably like my specialism when it comes to fantasy books. Haven't read many because I've kind of like drifted away from fantasy in the last few years, but have always wanted to get to this one. It's quite short as well. I think it'll be a quick read, and I can't believe I haven't got to this yet. Sorry, Shannon, I feel really rude. And then the last book that I am going to talk about today is actually the last book that I bought, and that is Northwards by Daniel Mason. Now, I don't know too much about this book other than everybody seems to love it. It was on so many people's favourite books of 2023, and it just sounded like it was right up my alley. Amelia talked about this book and really loved it. I saw a few other people who like literary fiction really enjoy this book. The only person I've seen not enjoy it is Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plots. He DNF'd this book, but everyone else loved it, so I'm just really intrigued by it. I think it's a multi-generational story that's almost told in short stories about the same like area, maybe the same house, the same woods, something like that, but I've just heard amazing things. I've also heard people talking about this cover and how they don't like it and prefer the US one, but the US one is disgusting to me, and I really like this one. It's like got medieval vibes. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe when I read the book my mind will change. This is one that I picked up on a whim just because so many people were talking about it and I don't know anything else about it really. So this is my stack of books that I plan on reading in the month of February. Let me know if you think I can do it, because there's quite a few big books in this stack. Like I said, I've also not been reading a massive amount over the last year. Maybe I'm going to push myself over the edge. But that is everything for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these books if you've read them in the comments down below. If you've made it to this point of the video and you don't have anything else to say, please just leave me a heart emoji in the comments of any colour so that I know that you're here. I will also leave my links down there to Instagram and Storygraph and all that fun stuff, so you can come and follow me on there and talk to me about books. And I'll see you in another video very, very soon. Take care. Bye.